Yes, we are back and we are live for the Friday Night SmackDown post-show here on Wrestle News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. Be sure to click the like button. Be sure to subscribe whilst you're at it. And indeed, SmackDown has just gone off the air, well, live to some, from Barcelona, Spain. The European tour kicks off for WWE on the road to WrestleMania, as we're about to see moving forward. There's going to be several episodes of Raw and SmackDown from these European countries. We're going to be doing a lot of watch-alongs and a lot of post-shows, and we're going to be seeing WrestleMania start to take shape, or continue rather to take shape. Now, overall, this episode did have, it had some good matches, obviously some noteworthy and newsworthy moments in the sense of, as you would have seen on the thumbnail there, a couple of teasers of big signings for WWE from AEW. Rey Fenix, Aleister Black looked to be heavily teased this evening through vignettes. We had some progression when it comes to bits and pieces from Paul Heyman talking about Roman Reigns, where he essentially came out and said Roman Reigns isn't here. Other parts where we had Tiffany Stratton and Charlotte Flair have a good brawl, and actually Tiffany Stratton dive off the top of the Titantron onto Charlotte Flair, which was well done. Cody Rhodes came out and basically, I think, did an appearance, really. Continued to hype up Cena being on Raw Monday, but did an appearance. Randy Orton came out and had a match. It was a good match, but there were large portions of this show that did just feel very filler. But that's what SmackDown is. SmackDown is now suffering for the same problems that Raw did when it moved to 3 hours on USA, which is, if it's a 3-hour show, it's very difficult to do an overall good episode or high-quality episode. There is always going to be filler. The objective when you've got a 3-hour professional wrestling show is to fill time. Not necessarily entertain, it's to fill time. And that's what we've seen with some of these episodes of SmackDown this year, which is filling a lot of time. Quite bland stuff. And even this raucous crowd, because I think it's smart by WWE to try this, because they know what the international crowds are like. They know that, the international crowds will just, over here in Europe, because we are so starved for professional wrestling, and we're so starved for, stuff that isn't just live events. We want actually TV tapings, we want premium live events, pay-per-views, what have you, that we will kind of take anything, and then when it does get delivered to us, we'll go crazy. So they know they're going to have a great atmosphere, and they're kind of just happy to whatever it may be. But the problem is with that is even this raucous crowd, which in Spain tonight, they were up for it, they were loud, they were vibrant. Even they, as this show went on, they got tired, and the fatigue started to set in, no doubt about that. But there was, as I mentioned, some noteworthy and newsworthy stuff, so we'll go through that. So if you haven't already, click the like button. We've already got close to 40 people watching, so if you haven't already, click the like button and be sure to subscribe as well. You can see in the bottom right-hand corner, we're at 19,285 as we get closer to 20K. You can already see people in the chat. Tiffany in the chat says, I'm a big Rey Fenix fan, I think that is. Do you see him with Penta? Well, it was interesting that this vignette was showed on SmackDown tonight, because of course Penta's on Raw. So I'm really interested to see what the plan is there moving forward. I don't know if the plan is to have Penta on Raw, Rey Fenix on SmackDown. And of course we do know that when the Lucha Brothers started talking to WWE last year, in the sort of summer of last year, when AEW found out about it and kind of pulled them off television at the time, the idea was they were going to be coming into WWE as a package deal, as a tag team. Now, Penta, of course, got out of his AEW contract earlier, expired earlier. Rey Fenix had time added on to his. And because of that, Penta debuted on Raw, and he's been working as a singles. And he's worked as a singles for a huge amount of time in his career. And he's done well as a singles. So because of that, maybe there was some thought of, okay, he's going to carry on being a singles. But now that Rey Fenix is seemingly signed with WWE and is on his way in, I do find it quite significant that this vignette is aired on SmackDown as opposed to Raw. So we could see Fenix maybe on SmackDown and Penta on Raw. Maybe they'll come together eventually. Maybe they won't. I just think that's very interesting. And as far as Aleister Black, I mean, both of these signings, it was expected to happen. It was just a matter of when they were going to happen. But let's go through this show. As you can see from the shot there, it was from Barcelona, Spain this evening. Show kicked off with United States champion LA Knight coming out to the ring. initially he struggled to get his words out and talk. It was that loud inside the arena in Barcelona, and you listen to that crowd, and that's always the case with these European crowds, right? It's always the case with these European crowds, these international crowds. They're insane. They love everything. They're happy to see the people they watch on television every single week, and they very rarely get to see, let alone a SmackDown or a Raw or a pay-per-view or anything like that. I mean, this was the first SmackDown to ever emanate from Spain. I mean, it was historic stuff. So LA Knight comes out, talks about winning the United States Championship last week. Quickly, he's interrupted by Jimmy Uso, who comes out. Then they're interrupted by Solo Sikoa, Tama Tonga, and Jacob Fatu, all trying to lay claim to the United States Championship. This then leads to a brawl, a 3-on-2 attack. Of course, the Bloodline have the advantage because it's a 3-on-2 attack. But out comes Braun Strowman. He's been feuding with Jacob Fatu, hasn't he, recently? Going back to their match at Saturday Night's Main Event earlier on this year, and it's largely continued. So this leads to a brawl, and everyone's wearing their gear, which can only mean one thing. We're going to have a match. So that leads to a 6-man tag team match. The announcement was made by SmackDown General Manager Nick Aldis. And to be honest with you, it was a largely kind of paint by numbers 6-man tag in the sense of, heels work over a babyface for a while. They worked over LA Knight for the large portion of the match, got their heat on LA Knight. LA Knight makes the hot tag into Braun Strowman, and it's funny, the more you see Braun Strowman do his Strowman Express thing and run around the ring, his knees are cooked. They are so cooked. Him running around the ring is quite the sight. Him just sort of stomping up and down the ring apron is quite the sight too. But he gets the hot tag, takes out everyone, does the Strowman Express round ringside, gets Tama Tonga up on his shoulders, does the running power slam, 1, 2, 3, baby faces get the win. You go, okay, that's what we're getting. We're getting a nice opening match between, some of the names on the upper mid card, part of SmackDown. And, Braun Strowman, LA Knight, he's the United States champion, mid-card champion. The bloodline of the new bloodline, shall we say, that's come down a notch from being involved with Roman Reigns in that main event scene. But really, chaos happened after the match because we see LA Knight. He goes into the crowd because he's chasing after Solo Sikoa. That's a thing that's going on. We see Tama Tonga. He's involved with Jimmy Uso. And then Jacob Fatu, he starts brawling with Braun Strowman. He's beating the hell out of Braun Strowman. And he must have hit a million, I'm telling you, a million moonsaults. That springboard moonsault, BME, best moonsault, whatever everyone call it, unbelievable. I think he hit, was it 3? In different corners as well, going absolutely crazy. And it looks like Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga are about to leave. And at one point, Tama Tonga's already left. Tama Tonga's like, I'm going, Jacob, I'm leaving. And we see Jacob Fatu run all the way back to ringside. And it might not look like it in that picture. This actually looks like Braun Strowman's putting him through the barricade. But actually what happened is Jacob Fatu runs around the ring and actually puts Braun Strowman through the barricade. So Strowman goes through the barricade and, and that segment. So this one isn't over. I think... did he challenge him to a match next week? I forget what it was. There was a promo later on the show that was really good from Jacob Fatu. He is really underrated on the mic. And so I think that one's set to continue. I still think we're heading towards Jacob Fatu versus Solo Sikoa at WrestleMania. But we still got quite a few weeks to go. So I think that's going to be a way to get there. But Jacob Fatu, even though his team lost, he still came out, I think, looking strong out of this one, and I think that was the aim there. But that was a good opening to the show, fun match. It's one of the wrestling tropes I'm not the biggest fan of. I'll be honest with you, I'm not the biggest fan of the wrestling trope, which is we're all going to come out and do a promo. We're all just happen to be in our wrestling gear. When I say wrestling gear, I mean wrist taped, elbow pads on, knee pads on, we're totally ready. If there's a promo segment and there's multiple people and they're all in wrestling gear, you know it's leading to a tag team match. That's exactly what happened in this opener. And I was a bit like, oh, but it was a fun match. It was well done, and it sets up matches and feuds, I suppose, going forward. We've got nearly 60 people watching, which is great. Already we're at 24 likes. If you haven't already, click the like button. Get your comments in as well if you did watch the show, or just your thoughts on everything moving forward, and we'll get those up on the screen as well. And also, as always, be sure to subscribe whilst you're at it. Next segment. Jade Cargill, she was doing an interview with Kathy Kelly. And this was interesting. Because I think we are being swerved here, folks. I think there is a red herring going on by WWE. And that swerve, that red herring, is that Naomi attacked Jade Cargill, because I don't think that she did. Now, in this interview segment, Kathy Kelly's asking Jade Cargill, how you feeling? Mentally, emotionally, physically. She says, physically, I feel fine. Mentally, emotionally, pretty tough. And Kathy Kelly goes, well, how did you know that it was Naomi? And she essentially reveals that she doesn't. She doesn't know that it was Naomi. What she says is, well, I got attacked from behind, pushed from behind, and as everything was fading to black, I see Naomi, and I see her running away. So that's her conclusion as to why it's Naomi. And if it was actually Naomi, if it was really Naomi, why would they even bother asking that question? And why would they bother scripting in their answer? I don't think they would. I think they would just go, how do you know it was Naomi? Oh, well, I saw her. It was she attacked me. That's something like that. Well, they wouldn't even ask, just not even to complicate it. Maybe that's what they would do, but they didn't. They didn't do that. They left it incredibly vague, and to me, that feels like there's going to be some kind of thing where it's like it was actually Bianca Belair. It was actually Bianca Belair that did it, but they had Naomi cover it up for her. Or she couldn't, for she was too big of a star. I can't let this get out. I can't let this happen, especially this close to WrestleMania. I'm the Women's World Championship #1 contender. We can't let this distract us or what have you. So I'm thinking now, I think it probably will get Jade Cargill versus Naomi. Maybe it'll be at WrestleMania, maybe it won't be. We know Bianca Belair is involved in the Women's World Championship situation. Probably a triple threat. Io Sky, Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, Women's World title. I think that Bianca Belair might win at WrestleMania, and then I think we'll find out that it wasn't Naomi. It was actually Bianca Belair that did it, and either she had Naomi take the fall, or she was like, "Oh, you just misunderstood. They got away with it," something like that. But I think that's where this one is going. I thought that was purposely left quite vague there. Now the interview then is interrupted by Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. Of course, they were framed. Sets up something for next week between the two. So I think we're going to see Jade Cargill versus Liv Morgan next week on SmackDown. Next up, sticking with the women's division, we had Charlotte Flair versus B-Fab, which led to a big development when it came to Tiffany Stratton. I will say about this match, it wasn't great. B-Fab is getting better in the ring. That's fair to say. Yeah, B-Fab's getting better. And she stole Stephanie Vaquer's move as well, Charlotte Flair. Really testing out that knee, I guess. But Charlotte Flair got the victory by locking in the natural selection, locks in the figure eight. It wasn't the best match. I'm still, maybe this is just pure conspiracy from me, and I'm just overlooking things. Every time I've seen Charlotte Flair wrestle, which is now only twice since she returned, right? She was in the Rumble for about 15 minutes, Joe Tessitore said on commentary. And then this evening, she was in the match. And I'm not convinced that she's completely 100% comfortable on that knee. And I don't blame her. Like, her knee got absolutely exploded. Torn ACL, was MCL, PCL, meniscus, everything you can tear in a knee. She was out for over a year, right? It was that bad of an injury. And now she's got the big knee brace on there. It's like a homage to Stone Cold Steve Austin, but with glitter. And when she walks around, she doesn't look comfortable. She's limping sometimes. And then she'll do the moves in the ring. Go, actually, well, she looks fine, actually. I guess she's totally okay. But just doesn't look comfortable. Again, maybe that's just me overthinking things and overlooking things. I don't know. But just doesn't, look totally comfortable. So she locked in the figure eight, won the match. Wasn't an amazing match. But what doesn't let go, this leads to a brawl. Tiffany Stratton and Charlotte Flair do the pull apart. They do the pull apart brawl that we've seen. If you've ever watched more than, I don't know, 4 or 5 episodes of professional wrestling, you would have seen the pull-apart brawl angle, which is 2 people are fighting, outcome security, outcome officials, all male, by the way, all male security and officials. No female security or referees or whatever came out. There was a female referee, but that was about it. So they break it up, but the brawl continues. They attack the security, they attack the officials, and they're diving onto each other in the corner, and they're still brawling. Eventually, they get separated, but it's a whole thing. And we go into commercial. Now, after the commercial break, we see The Miz come out because we're going to have the segment, which is Miz TV with Cody Rhodes. And they did the thing. They've only done this a few times, but I know they did it in ECW. They did it on Raw. This is like 93, I think. But I think it was a Mr. Perfect thing. Someone will let me know. Where they brawl to the back, and then they go to the next segment. And you go, right, well, okay, that's segment over. Segment over, because wrestling is segment by segment. You have your segment. Once the segment's over, you move on to the next part of the show. And that's how the brain works. It just picks these different bits. So you go into Miz TV, and even The Miz starts talking. And as The Miz starts talking, they're back out. They're back out once again after the commercial. They're back out brawling. Charlotte Flair and Tiffany Stratton, they're going after each other. They're brawling once more. And it leads to, frankly, a pretty incredible spot. That picture doesn't really do it justice there. But all of the officials, all of the security, and Charlotte Flair, they're standing by the entranceway. And actually, it was one of these sort of smaller entranceways that they have with these packed out shows, where it's sort of, they come out from a corner of the arena, but there's the LED boards there, and Tiffany Stratton jumps off the Titantron. Now, it's not like jumping off the Titantron back in the day when the Titantron was massive. They don't really have that anymore. They have the sort of smaller LED panels, but it's still a heck of a drop, and it's a swanton from the top through everyone, and the crowd go crazy. So the crowd weren't necessarily, I suppose, into the match, but they were really into Tiffany Stratton, and they were into the brawl because the crowd always likes the brawl. They always do. So that works, and that's trying to add some spice to that match because, of course, Flair's been attacking Tiffy and what have you. I mean, to be honest, I said this during the watch along. It's kind of almost forgotten at this point that, make no mistake, Charlotte Flair came back as a babyface. The way they were, I know that Charlotte Flair had sort of the glamorous vignettes, and she was on like a yacht and drinking champagne and what have you. But when she came back, they were hyping her up like she was going to be babyface. She's been out for over a year, and here she is. She's back. She's going to be one of the greatest of all time, blah, blah, blah. And as it's always been the case with Charlotte Flair, the crowd reacts to, what, Charlotte wins again. Charlotte's going to win the title again. Charlotte wins the Royal Rumble again. Whenever the character of Charlotte Flair is Charlotte wins the bout, and if she doesn't win the bout, she's not on TV. So for that to happen again, people, I think rightfully so, were like, I don't know about that. We like Tiffany Stratton. She's new. She's here all the time. She's young. We like that. She's fresh. And Tiffany had already turned babyface with the whole Nia Jax stuff and cashing in. But I think very quickly plans had to change and be altered with Charlotte Flair to be like, oh, yeah, she's going to have to be a heel. She's going to have to be the heel in this feud. So the plans have kind of been altered on the fly a bit. If you're wondering if we were going to get a riveting Cody Rhodes on Miz TV, we didn't. We didn't get anything. Cody Rhodes came out. He did his entrance. He did one woe. He went to the corner, went to do another woe. Miz cut him off. Said, I don't want to do that. I don't want any more woes. Cody Rhodes was like, I don't want to do any interviews. So he hit him with a crossroads, or thrust to the throat, crossroads, and said he didn't want to talk anymore, and he was waiting for Raw to face off with Cena. Of course, John Cena's going to be there Monday. It's Monday Night Raw from Brussels in Belgium. I'll be doing a watch-along and a post-show for that. And I'll be airing for everyone worldwide on Netflix at the right time. Of course, this evening with SmackDown, it's a bit different because it still airs on USA later on. Internationally, it airs live on Netflix. For everyone, Monday, Raw will be on at Netflix at the same time, which will be better. But what I would say, those that don't, invest in a VPN for the next month. Even if you can get a trial for the next month, that will probably be quite useful for you. So, didn't get much from Cody, but we're going to get Cody, Cena in the same ring on Monday. And I'm really excited for that. I'm fascinated to see what the presentation of heel Cena is going to look like. Is he going to dress differently? is there going to be different entrance music? Because we've heard the kind of fabled, planned but aborted heel turn in 2012 with the Rock at WrestleMania 28, and Cena was like, I'd already got new music, I'd recorded it, I'd got new gear made, like I was ready. I was ready to go, and then they decided not to do it. So I'm interested to know with how long this has been planned out, what he's planned, music, gear, everything. What's his presentation going to be? Is he going to be Hollywood Cena? Is he just going to be evil Cena? Is he going to be Total Divas Cena? Because if you want to see John Cena as a heel, he was a heel in Total Divas. Is he going to be like Cena was 20 years ago, rapping Cena? Probably not. So I'm really interested just to see all of that. What will all of that look like? And we'll find out Monday together. Watch Sugar Long, which should be a lot of fun. So the first of the two teasers that we saw this evening, we saw that. Now, initially, it took me a few seconds to a few minutes to figure out what that was all about. And I went, that's the guy, looks like he's clearly wearing a mask. I was thinking, another mask guy, what's going on? And then it occurred to me, that right there looks to be Rey Fenix, doesn't it? Now, it's of course, it's difficult to tell. Intentionally, it's difficult to tell who that is. But if you look at the mask, some are saying there you could actually see in other parts of the vignette a tattoo. But it looks to be that is Rey Fenix. Now, as I mentioned earlier on, to me, that is really interesting that Rey Fenix first vignette teasing his arrival in WWE airs on SmackDown when his brother Penta is on Raw. So are we going to have separate singles careers for these in WWE before they unite as a tag team? Does the tag team division need them? Well, the Lucha Brothers are one of the best tag teams in the world, so any tag team division would be happy to have them. We saw, obviously, a tag title change in the main event of SmackDown tonight. The tag division on SmackDown, it's a good division. I think the crowd aren't really into it as much as maybe WWE would hope. So I don't know what they're going to do. Maybe Penta's coming to SmackDown, and right after WrestleMania, Rey Fenix rather is coming to SmackDown. Right after WrestleMania, Penta gets drafted to SmackDown too, and that's how they tag team. Maybe that's the plan. But this was a foregone conclusion. Rey Fenix has been on his way to WWE slowly for close for a year. Once those conversations started happening between WWE and the Lucha Brothers back in the summer, it was a matter of time. And it was just how long. Time added on through injuries, keeping him off television. Obviously, eventually he got his release. As soon as he got his release, we knew it was going to happen. WWE haven't had to deal with AEW non-competes. They don't do them. Which is why, Ricky Saints is now in NXT so quickly. So Rey Fenix is on his way to WWE and seemingly on his way to SmackDown. Next up, we had a match between Damian Priest and Shinsuke Nakamura. This was set up with Priest getting into an argument with Nakamura backstage outside Nick Aldis' office. So this set up a match. But of course, it led to Drew McIntyre arriving at ringside. Yes, the Scottish Warrior, he's on a collision course with Damian Priest heading into WrestleMania. That was obvious really since the Royal Rumble, wasn't it? And then particularly coming out of Elimination Chamber, we know that's going to happen. Match was a no contest. Because, not because Lamine Yamal got involved. Could you imagine? Lamine Yamal got involved. That's why the match was, match was no contest. Match was no contest. Drew McIntyre got involved and attacked Damian Priest. Shinsuke Nakamura here at Kinshasa. And basically, Drew McIntyre just beat the hell out of Damian Priest. And they're trying to put, I think, just some steam. They're trying to put something onto this feud because after the Royal Rumble and there was the botched elimination, it wasn't a botched elimination, but McIntyre wasn't happy because the LA Knight, Logan Paul stuff was happening. There was a report from the Daily Mail at the time that effectively said, Drew McIntyre's going to face Damian Priest at WrestleMania. As you saw at the Rumble, the seeds being planted. And McIntyre feels that it's a nothing match. I think that's what their source described it as, a quote, nothing match. And McIntyre felt like, this past year has been arguably the biggest year of my career. Obviously, he's been champion before, but obviously during pandemic. But with crowds, he's had this huge feud with CM Punk, critically acclaimed. He technically has won a world championship, not held it for very long. He won Money in the Bank, had a brilliant match against Punk at Bad Blood inside Hell in a Cell. Obviously beat him at SummerSlam as well. Coming out of that, he's feuded. He was moved to SmackDown, I think, with the intention that he'd probably feud with Cody Rhodes for the WWE Championship. But that now may change if Cena's going to win the championship at WrestleMania. And now he's got a match against Damian Priest, which, look, Priest is a former world champion. He's been world champion over the last 12 months. He's even faced McIntyre before. But I think maybe that's what McIntyre will think. He goes, well, we've had this match. We had it at Clash at the Castle in Scotland. I lost. And that was, again, part of my CM Punk feud, so that's fine. But I don't know. It kind of feels like he's got lost in the WrestleMania shuffle here. And I can maybe understand why he might be a bit annoyed with that match. But maybe there'll be big things for him post-WrestleMania, perhaps. And they've got to do their best to try and make people care about the feud. Maybe they can make chicken salad out of chicken shit. Perhaps maybe that's their intention. We've got close to 70 people watching. We're at 35 likes. If you haven't already clicked the like button, let's see if we can get to 50. We're 14 likes away from 50 likes. And reminder, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. If you do subscribe, you'll see in the bottom right-hand corner there, the ticker will move up and we'll get closer and closer to 20,000 subscribers. We saw it before, Lamine Yamal in the crowd. Yes, in the crowd. The Barcelona superstar prodigy in the crowd holding that's the Snoop Dogg WWE Championship, isn't it? That's the Snoop Dogg WWE Championship, and usually around WrestleMania season, it gets handed to all these different celebrities because WWE likes that. WWE likes handing out this big gold belt that's got WWE on it, and all these celebrities hold it, take pictures and put it on their social media, and it's good marketing for them, good brand awareness for them, so that's why they do it. Next up, we had Randy Orton. First match since last year. First match is coming back at Elimination Chamber a couple of weeks ago. He faced off against Carmelo Hayes in a pretty good match. A pretty good match. It's what you would kind of expect. Randy Orton, by the way, at the moment, he is absolutely ginormous. Every time I think I see him, he gets bigger. I remember when Randy Orton debuted in 2002, and at that time, look, that was a very, very, very big roster just coming out of the Attitude Era of the late 90s. Everyone was big, and Randy Orton, compared to that, and he's bigger now than he was back then, obviously, but he felt like he was not a smaller guy, but certainly a leaner, tall guy. But now, I mean, in this match, the only issue I had with this match is that at points, he just dwarfed Carmelo Hayes. Like, it just some of the stuff that Hayes was trying to do to him just almost didn't look believable, because Randy was so much bigger. So much bigger than him. But Randy Orton gets the win with the RKO, as you would expect. After the match, he tries to give respect to Carmelo Hayes. Carmelo Hayes says no, shoves him in the chest, hits him with another RKO. But this leads to Kevin Owens. You can't see him there, but Randy Orton there is actually fighting with Kevin Owens in front of his wife, Kim. Kevin Owens manages to run away. We're heading towards WrestleMania with Randy Orton versus Kevin Owens. That's what is happening at WrestleMania, isn't it? That feud is pretty obvious to see. I think maybe we'll probably see Sami Zayn get involved in that match at WrestleMania, perhaps. Maybe actually might realign with Kevin Owens and goes, you know what? I needed to be dropped on my head to figure things out. You were right, Kevin. And maybe that's what I don't know. But I think Sami Zayn's going to somehow get involved in that at WrestleMania. But it's going to be Orton versus Owens at WrestleMania. That's the direction. Gunther, despite being Raw's World Heavyweight Champion, he was on SmackDown. He's the best European wrestler of all time. And because of that, he called out Spain's own Axiom. He even referenced A-Kid. And they had probably the match of the night, in all honesty. Again, Axiom was never going to win the match, but they hit the golden ratio with it being a home country competitor. The crowd were really, really into it, and it almost it felt like a light bulb went off for Triple H and the creative team for WWE that this Gunther world title reign, it has been a bust. It's not been good, especially if you compare it to his Intercontinental Championship reign. And why was Gunther's Intercontinental Championship reign so good? In addition to being really long, the reason it was really good is because he just had amazing matches. Because that's the Gunther gimmick. The Gunther gimmick is he has these hard-hitting, strong style matches, lots of chops, power bombs, lariats, and eventually he wins. When he was Intercontinental Champion, he had him with Sheamus, with Drew McIntyre, with whoever you can think of, Gable. The list goes on and on with the people he had amazing matches with. And then for some reason, as the World Champion, they've tried to make him a bit more of a coward and not have as many matches like that. And that's really what Gunther's all about. So he had this amazing match with Axiom tonight. He won. that was the point of it. And now you go, oh yeah, Gunther's a formidable force. So it was probably the match of the night. It was probably the peak sort of noise, really, for the crowd and attendance. But Gunther gets the victory, powerbomb lariat, and Axiom, really, really impressive showing. We next had Paul Heyman. Yes, Paul Heyman came out, right? And basically, Paul Heyman told everyone, Roman Reigns isn't here. I'm not even joking. That's what Paul Heyman basically came out and said. It went, today's Roman Reigns. It was a hybrid of a promo for the upcoming WWE 2K game, and yeah, that was largely it. It was. I'm not really sure the point. In all honesty, the point of that one. After the Paul Heyman thing, we got another vignette. This was just as mysterious as the Rey Fenix one earlier on. There was a lot of smoke. It was dark, and we saw the number 4. Now, what any of this means, I have no idea what any of this means. In terms of the 4, my only conclusion is, and you've seen it in the title, is that this is the beginning of a return vignette for Aleister Black, formerly known as Malachi Black in AEW. It just feels very on brand with stuff that he has done before in AEW and WWE when he was Aleister Black previously. As far as the 4, I don't know if that means 4 weeks. I don't know if that means 4 days. Well, probably it'll be easy to figure out Monday on Raw if one airs on Raw, if one airs on SmackDown, if that's what it's going to be. I think, isn't it? It's like 6 weeks to Mania. I think 4 weeks is the end of the European tour. So maybe it might be a case of Aleister Black returning after the European tour. I think there's an expectation Rey Fenix is going to debut after the European tour. So that might be something similar. But this looks to me, anyway, a Aleister Black return vignette. I think that's where this one is heading towards, which again was inevitable. Aleister Black, Malachi Black, whatever you want to call him, Tommy End, has wanted to be coming back to WWE for like 3 years, honestly. There were rumors about him asking for his release in 2022 once Paul Levesque got creative control over WWE. He's a Paul Levesque guy. Aleister Black's best work in WWE was in NXT as a Paul Levesque guy. He was NXT champion. Paul Heyman was a big advocate for him. So now you come into WWE, Triple H is in charge. Paul Heyman is a Paul Levesque guy. He said it at his Hall of Fame speech. Aleister Black will come in and be pushed heavily. Heavily. He will be pushed. So I'm considering this as part of the beginning of his return to WWE. And then finally, we had our main event, a WWE Tag Team title match. We have brand new WWE Tag Team champions. The Street Profits once again hold the gold for the first time since 2021. You kind of just knew that this was going to be a tag title change. The reason I say you just kind of knew, one, because it was an international show and they want to start off the European tour with a bang. It was the main event and the Street Profits cut a promo before the match. It kind of felt do or die-ish. What I will say is the crowd got into it at the end. For a large portion of this, they were rather quiet. And I think that's because tiredness, 3 hours is a long time. I think that's because, as I said, I mean, if you do the show as quickly as I've done it here, just over 30 minutes, it seems not too bad. But imagine all that in 3 hours in real time. It's just a bit tiresome, especially with some of it's just filler. And I think maybe that's the problem. When you're writing out a show and you look at that format and you go, okay, we start off with a 6-man tag and going for the barricade, that's cool. And Charlotte Flair, her first match since 2023 on SmackDown, that's good. And Tiffany Stratton comes out, she's going to jump off the Titantron there. They'll love that. And all right, and Cody's going to be out there. They love Cody. And, Drew's going to heat up his feud with Damian Priest. Yeah, that'll be good. And we'll have a tag title change. That'll be good. And Paul Heyman will come out. Paul Heyman got booed because he was like, Roman Reigns Day. Roman Reigns isn't here. You paid a load of money. You're not seeing him. He's going to be in Italy next week. And then basically had the nerve to say, get a ticket and fly to Italy. Was effectively what he said. So the crowd were a bit tired. Finish though, they popped for the finish and they popped for the title change because they weren't, not necessarily they weren't expecting to see it, but they don't see live TV tapings all the time, let alone a title change. They're part of history and they like that. The tag team division on SmackDown, it's a weird one because this match was a good tag team match, But there just feels like there is something missing about that tag team division. I appreciate the effort to make it feel relevant, and they do have good teams in there. You know, you got Street Profits now tag team champions. Obviously, you got the Machine Guns, brilliant tag team. DIY, brilliant tag team. Pretty Deadly, #1 contenders. But it does still just kind of feel a flatness about it. Maybe that will improve by putting them in main events, keep putting them on premium live events, get people more invested. Maybe that's part of the plan. I'm not sure. But there you go. As I said, it was... it's like we've seen with a lot of these SmackDowns. 3 hours, filling time, a lot of it. It felt like the B show. Felt like tune in on Monday, because Monday's got the big stuff. Cena's going to be there. And I don't know, the road to WrestleMania is a weird one this year. The road to WrestleMania last year was very exciting with everything that was happening with Cody, The Rock, Rollins, Reigns, etc., and other matches. But there is just something so far this year that feels like the big angle Cena, the heel turn, The Rock, Cody, and everything else just kind of feels a bit secondary and a bit kind of lukewarm, shall we say. And it'll be interesting to see how that heats up in the next few weeks, or if they just go with, it's going to be, it's 2 days, but it's really the John Cena heel stuff. We're all in on that. So we shall see, and we'll be watching it all live together with all the watch-alongs and the post-shows as well. So big up to everyone. Appreciate you all tuning in. We've still got over 60 people watching. We're 6 likes away from 50 likes. If you haven't already, click the like button. Be sure to subscribe as well. We're only 1 subscriber away from 19,290. More news videos coming up tomorrow. We'll have news videos. We'll also have more countdown videos coming up. And a reminder, we'll be live Monday for Monday Night Raw on Netflix, and a post-show for that as well as SmackDown Friday from Bologna. Roman Reigns scheduled for that show. So if you haven't already, now is the time to subscribe and click that notification bell. Have a good evening. I'm out of here. Peace.